Welcome to the Tips for Teachers podcast, giving teachers tips to help them in and out of the classroom. Now, here's your host, Neil Hess.
Welcome to this edition of the Tips for Teachers podcast, and I wanted to talk this time about kind language and getting your point across. Now, in the classroom, it's so easy for us, at least it is for me, and I'm assuming for quite a bit of you out there, to lose our patience with kids, and when that happens, we end up being a little unkind. Sometimes we can just be downright mean. I know I have in the past, and it's something I've been trying to work on. So I think it's really important that we learn how to say what we need to say, but say it in a kind way so that we are able to get our point across. And this point is especially important when you're talking with parents. So I wanted to give you guys a few tips real quick about how you can use this kind language and still get your point across. And the first tip I have is communicate with voice and not text when at all possible. And the problem is if we look at a phrase in text, and I'm going to say this as monotone as possible so that you get my point. So let's take a look at the phrase, "What are you doing?" So again, that was monotone. I apologize for that. But if we see "what are you doing" in text, that could have a number of tones associated with it. It could be just something simple like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Kind of a curious just inquiry. Or it could be kind of a, "What are you doing?" Like a frustrated, angry thing that we actually have speaking to that person. And so I want to emphasize that when at all possible, communicate with voice or by phone. And when you're doing so, check your tone. Your tone should be sincere and gentle, but honest as well. We want to make sure that we're conveying our message, but that we're not doing so in a rude manner. Something else to keep in mind too is to judge observable events and patterns, not personal characteristics. While it's really tempting to say, "Billy is just a lazy little twerp," and while that may be true, it's probably not the best way to go about communicating with a parent about Billy. So instead of saying something like, "He's lazy," it might be more effective to say something like, "He doesn't appear to be motivated to do his work." It's still saying the same basic thing. He's not doing what he's supposed to, but it's saying it in a much gentler way that is leading toward a solution and just simply stating the problem instead of making a character judgment about Billy. Or saying something like, "Billy's a bully." Instead of saying that, you can say, "I often see him pestering other students." So again, you're just stating patterns of behavior that you see, and you're not actually saying something about the character of the individual. Because when you start stating something about someone's character, it can become very personal very quickly, and that's when meetings can blow up and then administrators get called and everything else, and it's never a good situation. And finally, never let kindness override truth. It can be really hard to say some of the things that we need to say sometimes, but it's never an excuse for us to withhold the truth. Sometimes there's just no easy way to say that, we caught so-and-so, smoking marijuana in the bathroom or something. And you just have to come out and say it. And again, this would be one of those times where, especially those sensitive situations, I would really encourage you to communicate by voice and not text. I hope you found this tip helpful. If you have any questions or if you have anything you'd like to talk to me about, just go to tips4teachers.net, and there's a place where you can also submit a tip as well if you have an idea for a future tip. Take care, teachers.